feel like you're nothing, but you wanna be something. Yeah, well, all you really need is hope. I just want you to trust me if you wanna be something.
That's right. Let's go. Yeah, when you're feeling down and you're out, like you got nothing but doubt, you're alone in the crowd, just trying to figure it out. All that is bad and this money got you feeling left out. Listen up to me now, every word that's out of my mouth. Wake up, it's me, you're gonna follow your dreams, or are you just gonna be another cog in the scene? You feel the hope in this beat, yeah, the hope that you need to proceed and be exactly what you want it to be. I feel right and I'm proud, hype and I'm loud, I'ma shout all about how I feel in the now. Ain't nobody ever gonna try to change me, till I'm dead pushing up daisies. I'm alone in the crowd, I won't feel down. I got hope right now, and I know I'll be found. I don't really care just what all other haters gotta say. I know everything I do is gonna make them fade away,
And when you feel like you're nothing, but you wanna be something, yeah, well, all you really need is hope. I just want you to trust me if you wanna be something, yeah, then all you really need is hope.
Let's go, it's what you need when you're down, need when you're out. It's what you need when you're sad and when you feel left out. You feel an energy drought and then creeps out, but with a little bit of hope you can figure it out. Keep your head high even when you're down inside. Through the pain you fight and through the painful nights you keep striving, keep trying, keep driving, rising, keep thriving, surviving. Nothing's in your way but yourself, don't need nobody's help. You can make it through this hell, take it one step at a time, one step as you climb. If you fail you'll be fine, get back up to the grind and never lose sight of your mission. Be driven, this life is a prison if you don't have vision. You're in it to win it, so get it, don't miss it. Your chances now, so be something somehow. Don't let yourself down. That's right. Sometimes all we really need is hope.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. How are you guys doing today? Hello, hello. Hi, Georgie. Hi, Ramblin. Hi, Maria. Hi, Mally Cat. Good morning, Petunia. Good morning, Roberta. Hi, In the Bushes. Hi, BC. Hi, Seal. Good morning, Mark. Cooter G in his house first thing in the morning. My goodness. How's it going, everybody? So we have a lot to talk about today and a short amount of time to do it. I do work at 11-ish, so we will have to jump off by around then. But there has been a lot of things that have taken place in the last couple days, over the weekend since the vigil, and all the stuff. And so I want to discuss all of that. I also want to discuss Peter Hyatt and his video that he did with Seth on panel. Seth didn't really talk very much throughout that entire video, but I did find it interesting that this all took place one day after Seth and Chris had their interactions. I'm sure most of you guys have probably seen that the family is supposed to be united now, which is great. I mean, they should have started off united. I guess there was the rift that happened because the GoFundMe was started. That's whenever Chris and Katie started threatening to sue Seth and all of those different things, and they didn't, present as a united front. Um, and then so now they are back to allegedly being united. But I did find it interesting that right after they say that they're going to do this united front, Seth goes on with Peter Hyatt. And those of you guys who are familiar with Peter Hyatt and have been watching his coverage of this case since the beginning, he has been he has held fast to his belief that Katie Proudfoot is holding the weight of the world and that she knows information that could lead to the discovery of Sebastian. Now, he has not said that she has unalived him or anything like that, but he has said that something happened that evening, that she is holding back. She is holding back this information, and that it could lead to the discovery of Sebastian. Um, that is his opinion based off of his word analysis that he does. He does have a background and doing word analysis and things like that, and analyzing these statements and things like that. And I just found it interesting though that Seth said that he has been watching Peter since the beginning. He has been watching this information come out, and he has he has seen Peter's coverage, and you know he chose to go on panel with him the morning after he says there's a united front. And so that to me tells me that they are probably still not as united as they should be. Yeah, Ramblin', will your phone ring? Yeah, probably. Probably. Seal told you. Good job, Seal. Good morning, Rhonda. Good morning, Victoria. Treed Squirrel. Reports from this morning. Seth hasn't heard from Katie since those words. Yeah, I don't know. Good morning, Cray Cray. Yeah, going chopper shopping. So she was on Facebook, and she commented underneath one of the posts, and she said, let me see if I can find it again. She said the trade-in was years ago, not months, and we were not there during the vigil. We are not there to trade the bike in. Um, and so she responded that to somebody, and Justin on TikTok, let me just show you his short that he did. He did the short, and this is the issue that a lot of people I think are having with Katie and Chris throughout. Mhm. Good morning, Chemistry Queen. Good morning, Libby. So first of all, here is them getting along, right? To me, though, this body language in this picture, I, that to me doesn't say best friends. It doesn't say like some type of agreement. The body language stance, in my opinion, it doesn't look like they're getting ready to be best buddies, and they're getting ready to work together. That's just my opinion. Do I want the family to work together? Absolutely. Do I think that they need to work together? Sure. Do I think that it's actually going to happen? No. I think that it's more so along the lines of I seriously questioned as soon as I seen this, was Chris there like threatening Seth with lawsuits or whatever if they said anything bad about the family or towards him or Katie or whatever during the vigil. Some type of preemptory, hey, you better watch yourself during this vigil, and you better present us as a united front or whatever, because we're tired of you making us look bad. Right. But then they went from this scene with Seth, or they were at some point during the day. I don't want to say it was from here, I guess, because we don't know if they went to the Harley shop beforehand or after. We don't know. But they were wearing the Sebastian Rogers shirts. It looked like they were intending to be at the vigil, but they weren't at the vigil. They did not go. They did not attend the vigil, and they were wearing the Sebastian Rogers shirts whenever they were at this Harley shop that people got the picture of them. And so she goes on Facebook, and she says that it was the exact quote again. Hold on.
About, well, by now a lot of y'all know that Chris and Katie Profit have been accused of shopping for motorcycles or doing something with motorcycles the night or the day of Sebastian's vigil. Now Katie Profit has said something about this. The trade-in was years ago, not months, and we were not there during the vigil, and we were not there to trade the bike in. So yeah, based on this statement, they were motorcycle shopping years before Sebastian went missing. Then explain to me this picture. Look at their shirts.
I mean, they're both wearing shirts for the vigil. They both are wearing Sebastian Rogers shirts, and that's a good thing. I'm glad that they're wearing Sebastian Rogers shirts to help spread awareness about him wherever they may choose to go. Good. Be a walking billboard for your son. Absolutely, 100%. Could they have been going to the Harley shop because who knows? Maybe there was something wrong with their motorcycle. Maybe they were planning to do a motorcycle ride for Sebastian. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe they were trying to set something up, and maybe the dealership is going to help them do that. We don't know why they were at this dealership. We really don't. We don't know if they were shopping. We don't know what was going on. There could be a million and two reasons that they were at this dealership. But it just sucks whenever it's like, okay, so you went there, you had words with Seth. Why not just stay? And if you want to present yourself as a unified front, why not just stay for the vigil? Stand there, hold hands, lock arms, something along those lines to present yourself as a unified front. Instead, they stay separated, and then people are able to take this picture. Now, I would question who took the picture. Was it the person from the dealership snuck this picture of them? Because if it was the person from the dealership that just so happened to see them or to recognize them and be like, "Wow, what are they doing here? They're here bike shopping or whatever." Is that how this photo was taken and put out there? Or was it legitimately like they're out there trying to set something up for them? I want to know who took the photo. I want to know the purpose behind the photo. Was it a random customer that happened to be there that snapped this photo, like flabbergasted that they were there? Or was it like the person at the dealership that snuck this photo? Because that could tell you two different lines of what type of thing was going on, in my opinion. This was a scheduled meeting. Okay. They were there to start a rally and Justin knows that. Okay. Okay. And see, so that's what I mean. A rally is what you heard. Awesome. And so that's what I mean. There's like 2,000 different ways and reasons that they could have been there. But again, if you were supposed to be a united front, then why don't you go together and be a united front? That vigil, they could have been there. They could have done it. Your sister called. That's so funny. Some cuckoo bird see, and that's gross. Like, stop following these people. The one pic was taken behind the desk. See, I don't know. I just can't with that. Like, don't stalk this family. Like, that's just
Can't tell.
disturbing. That's just disturbing. And so I don't know. Hopefully they're just setting up a motorcycle rally, something along those lines, there to represent Sebastian, there to get information out about him and do all the things, right? I mean that's the hope. But again, I don't understand why they did not attend the vigil. They should have gone. If you're going to take the time to stop there and tell Seth to present you as a united front, it's a 30-minute thing. Like, the vigil was 30 minutes. They could have went. Look at this crowd. There's like nobody there. A handful of people there. Where is the love and the support from the community? Where is this family at? How many Proudfoots are in this audience? Like, come on. You want it to be a united front, then unite, for crying out loud. Go there. Support these things that are happening to raise awareness for your son. That's my thing, right? You're not so scared to leave your house to do all the things because of threats or whatever. Call the police and have them go with you if you're worried about threats or violence or whatever. You were able to go there and talk to Seth, so go there and stand united, stand on stage, talk about your son. Right? That's a united front to me. Not this crap that we're seeing. And so like I said, Seth, he does this. They do the vigil. At the end of the vigil, or beginning sometime during this vigil, he makes a statement about them being a united front now. And then next thing you know, next morning he's on with Pascal and he's on with Peter Hyatt.
You have like 900, you have like 1,000 people in there. Do you want to say anything, but you don't have to?
Thank you for all the support.
There you go. There you go.
I appreciate everybody's support. Please, people, keep my son in your thoughts and prayers.
Appreciate
Just need to find him. His mama wants him back. I want him back. His family wants him back.
Hi, Daddy's baby girl. You heard Seth say that. Really nice to me. He came to help with Seth's vehicle. See, okay, so good. Help with Seth's vehicle, be united. That's awesome. Do we have a picture of him working on the vehicle? Seth should have kept that quiet. What, the United Front? Yeah, why did they schedule a meeting during the prayer vigil? It was 30 minutes. Yeah, people following them around is not gonna find Sebastian. I agree with that. That does not need to be happening. Yeah, Pendizzy, I seen that. Unfortunately, we see stuff like that in every single one of these missing people cases. People who claim to have the children demanding ransom. Um, it really does happen for almost every single family that I have spoken with about missing children. As soon as they are active on social media, posting about their child or their missing loved one, they start getting phone calls, text messages, Facebook messages, whatever. The one went as far as Snapchat messages. So it unfortunately happens in every single case where these trolls come out and they try to get people riled up and and go crazy. I'm not upset about what Seth said either, but to me, it's still not a united front. I mean, if he's coming there to work on your car, great, but come to work on your relationship publicly about Sebastian. They need to be united front and go on a panel together or be on a newscast together or something. Be at a vigil together, something, some type of public presentation that yes, they are working together. Yeah, people are sick. People are very, very sick. It happens at every missing case, sadly. So one of the other things, let me see here. So the other thing is Seth's let me get the PI. The PI that Seth has hired is I don't know what is going on. I guess the Facebook groups are attacking her and saying all kinds of different stuff about her as a private investigator. And she has been like publicly responding on Facebook throughout. It's been honestly kind of weird in my opinion. Hold on one second, I gotta find it. She was on my Facebook feed and now I gotta look. While I'm getting that, let me get up the Peter Hyatt video. So Seth says about them becoming a united front. Like I said, Peter Hyatt has been on top of Chris and Katie since the beginning. Peter Hyatt he analyzes statements. He has been right in more cases than he's been wrong that I have watched. And I mean, this is what he does. I was talking the other day about like, these credentials and stuff like that. What do they really mean? Their opinions are still just their opinions, right? He's making an opinion based off of knowledge that he has from schooling and things like that he's gone to for statement analysis. So everything that he says in this video is his opinion based off of interviews that he has seen, based off of interactions that he has watched and things that he has been sent or heard about. He does not have any other evidence outside of that training and the statements that he has analyzed. He has no formal evidence, or like he's not been given any official evidence in this case or anything like that. And so you have to take his statements kind of with a grain of salt, put it in your back pocket and think about it later. Um, because at the end of the day, his analysis of these statements are no more evidence, or like they have no more factual basis behind them than a lot of our guesses, right? But I do find it interesting, like I said, that Seth went on panel with him just to listen to this, to his analysis of things the day after he says that he's united with Chris and Katie. And then and maybe I'm reading too much into this. I just found it very odd that he's like, "Hey, we're united." And then he goes on to a panel with a person who has been accusing Katie of holding the weight of the world and holding this knowledge and needing to relieve herself from the guilt that she holds, and the knowledge and the piece of evidence that she knows that she has not yet told to police, that may be the reason why Sebastian has not been found yet, whether it's why he left that day, the events leading up to his disappearance, or something along those lines. To me, it just speaks volumes that Seth chose to do this panel right after saying that they were united. Yeah, I don't think this PI should be speaking at all. Pointer lover, I'm like flabbergasted that the PI is on Facebook constantly, addressing rumors and trying to defend herself, basically, against accusations that she's had. To me, we should not have any knowledge of their investigation, and we should not be privy to that information. The family, yes, not us. And so it kind of, I don't know, it threw me off that I'm like watching her on Facebook addressing all the things. Um, it just doesn't seem very professional, in my opinion. Mr. Tomato Head, I'm not sure. My guess is there were people who were like volunteering. Yeah, prayers to find Sebastian. He does, Ringo. He just sits here and reads the comments, and he could have done this from the chat. He did not need to sit on this panel while Peter's doing his thing. He could have been in the chat. He literally says nothing until the last couple minutes. He makes a few statements. But really it's 45 minutes of just Peter just doing what Peter does.
Greetings and welcome to this video. I purposed to come on and just talk about a singular theme of what I believe to be the key to finding missing 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers, hopefully alive, but as the time has gone on, it was, I think, February 26th. We're reaching 2 months. It becomes much more difficult for anyone to hold on to hope that way. While I was getting set for this, Seth reached out and I invited him to come on. So he's here, and I'd like to just to address this one particular issue that I think is very important. What prompted me to want to do this, and I'm pleased to have Seth, and I recognize that this is a nightmare, that the only way to survive it is perhaps some form of denial as time goes on for him. But it was a recent video that someone sent me of Sebastian's mother, that and some of the reactions within social media that were, I think, concerning. I'm not sure how distracting they really are, but there's a lot of information that is listed as breaking and bombshell, and life continues to go on, days continue to pass, and Sebastian is not found or recovered. In a recap for the case, and I won't make you wait as I hand the key, which is still another mystery itself, but a recap is 15-year-old boy with autism was reported missing. And I've interviewed a lot of kids over the years through Child Protective Services that had autism. It seemed to me, experientially, that no two were alike. And I had to adjust in the moment to be able to reach them. And there's some similarities of muted emotions or irregulated emotions.
He does. I definitely have this playing at 1.5 speed. Why does Seth not have custody? Still trying to learn about this case. They have joint custody. Like he has him every other weekend, and then on the summertime, which I guess that's actually switching. If Katie and Sebastian had some type of argument or altercation, right, she should have told it right away. I'm not saying she did anything, but I do think she's leaving something out. And Pointer Lover, that has been my feelings since the very first interview. Very first thing that we seen, instantly we were talking about it. And not publicly, but we were talking about it behind the scenes, and it was one of those things where it's like something's missing. I don't know what, but something. There's like a gaping hole in the events of the story. Right. I agree. Yeah, they're called private investigators for a reason. Even Proudfoot doesn't have to know who they are so they can be effective. Right. Yeah, joint custody. They have joint custody. But there's been something going on there since the beginning. I'm going to skip his like first couple minutes here.
But the first thing, and that's a risk factor, but the first thing that comes up in this was silence. That an investigator will ask, well, who was the last person to see Sebastian alive? Under whose watch did a child go missing? That's just 101 at beginning, where things begin. And so the public responded, I think, from at least what I read, they're angry. Why are these people being silent? And it goes against especially a mother's instinct. The father is protect. The mother is nurture. These things come from creation. These are God-given. And for a mother to be silent, there's one of two reasons. Generally, there can be others, but either police have revealed to the mother, there's no point in you calling out for your son. We have evidence of his death. The blood. We have this, that. So she begins to go into the wrestle of denial and grieving and then not believing, and it's a lot of emotions. And there could be other reasons, but generally speaking, if a mother has a child went missing on a mother's watch and the mother has nothing to hide, they are out front and they're giving a description of Sebastian, including behaviors, even if it's a style of walking, clothing, everything else, of course, but any type of reaction, so people could recognize him. In this sense, she's calling out to him. An interviewer will say, "How are you doing?" And there's a certain element there where even the most inflamed mother is going to say, I'm okay, I'm hanging in there, this is a nightmare, and then move the conversation, grab it, move it back to, here's where we're looking, here's where we have to find him, I need your help. Sebastian, if you can hear me, son, run away, get out, call 911, grab any adult. There's this stymieing of maternal instinct that is very powerful, where the mother bear says, no, you can't tell me to be quiet. So they did finally speak out. And when I say they, now I'm talking about mother and stepfather. Is the
Tomato Head, I'm not honestly sure about that. About who would watch him during Seth's long shifts. I have no idea. We know that Seth has said that he is okay to leave by himself, or has been by himself in the past. And so I don't know. Don't know. Hi, Chase.
information will lie somewhere there. And when stepfather did most of the talking and was obvious in control, and they seemed to have scripted in the interview, people recognized it. People without training recognized it, saying, uh-oh, this is scary. Listen to this guy. And so people did ask questions, especially after the first interview, and people didn't believe him. And the social media backlash was on these two. And then there's the dad in the background, with this heartache of being distant, but not having knowledge of what happened. Now, when I analyzed that first interview, I said, they've coordinated their statements, their story, and mom is withholding information about what happened. And I'd like to
And so this is his opinions of what is going on in this situation, right? His opinions based off of his statement analysis that he's done. I still firmly will continue to believe that Sebastian has the ability to come home. We have seen different posts and things like that talking about, during the vigil, they talked about this online program that he had completed an agricultural thing through. I don't know the when he took the time to do that agricultural thing. I wish we had more knowledge about that and where he was accessing the internet from. Could he have been accessing the internet to do more than just that agricultural thing while he was doing that? How often was he signing into that program? Things like that. Was that something that he was doing from Katie's house, from Seth's house? Was that something that he was doing from the school? What device was he utilizing to do it? Did he talk to anybody else through that device, or was it just the agricultural community? Has that agricultural community been checked and verified to make sure that none of them have been talking to Sebastian outside of that class that he was taking? We've seen them give an award to Seth, but where's the rest of the information about that class? And then now Katie had said through text message, I think it was, to Duchess or something along those lines on one of these shows that somebody sent me. They were like asking Katie questions and she was texting back and forth with Duchess, and Duchess was answering the questions that Katie was being asked. And she said something about him playing Call of Duty. Again, was that only at Seth's house? Was he on his own profile? Was he only on Seth's profile? How often was he playing Call of Duty? Whenever Seth would go to work and he had Sebastian, did Sebastian still have access to Call of Duty? How long ago was that he last played that on those devices? What type of device was he utilizing? Did he have access to anything else outside of that? What's the email address that's associated with that account? Did he have access to that so that we can check and see what other accounts that he could have potentially signed up for? Did he have an email account that was done with the agricultural stuff? Has anybody checked and verified all of the information surrounding those accounts? Like, there's so many questions that do not necessarily have to be that Katie and Chris did something to Sebastian. There's still this huge, huge gaping possibility that he could have been lured from his home by someone. Didn't even necessarily have to be someone online. We now have heard from neighbors that he would wander the streets sometimes and wander up and down the road and things like that. Did he meet somebody who talked to him while he was wandering? We've heard that he has given his phone number to women at restaurants before, prompted by his dad. Has he ever given his phone number to somebody else while he was out wandering? Could he have been communicating with somebody? And all of this obviously is things that TBI is going to be investigating. However, then I watched Gray Hughes Investigates, and I watched his video where he was showing the neighborhood and showing the dog scent and showing the lights with the trash truck and things like that. And in his video, he alludes to the fact that Chris Proudfoot essentially indicated to him that police are not going to search again now until the leaves fall off the trees so that they can get a better look at the terrain and stuff like that to find where Sebastian is. That essentially they believe that he left the house that night, got stuck somewhere, got lost, and succumbed to the wilderness. And so, did Chris Proudfoot actually say that to Gray Hughes? Or is that what Gray Hughes is surmising from those details and from the conversation that he had with Chris? Have Chris and Katie already given up hope that Sebastian is alive? Have they already given up hope that he has the possibility to come home? Is that part of why they're not doing these vigils and they're not doing those things? Do they think that he's just lost in the woods and just dead somewhere and they're just waiting to find his remains? And if they think that there is no possibility that he was lured out and things like that, is the knowledge that Katie is withholding about some type of fight or explosion or something that happened that night between the restaurant and bedtime, that she knows for a fact that Sebastian walked out of that house because he was angry and not because he was going to meet somebody? It's all so many questions. It doesn't make sense about the leaves. Because they did the same thing in Summer Wells. They waited for the vegetation, yeah. They waited for everything in the wilderness to die before they went out to search again, because the grass and everything grows up so high and the leaves on the trees make it hard for drones and stuff like that to fly around. And so they wait they wait until the leaves fall again. This is probably the one chat that Seth hasn't showed up in, where the best questions could be asked, right? Dang it, Seth, where are you at? No, I don't blame him though, honestly. I don't care if they unite to find Sebastian, that's all good, but CK seem like to go out of their way to show the public that they are not. Yeah, and he seems like he's grasping at straws to help find Sebastian. Yes, kids are smart. They know how to get online. Was he online servers playing, or was he the actual game story mode offline? That's what I'm interested in too. Right, we don't know. I know they do. Whenever they have Seth on, they all ask the same questions. It's like they follow the same script, asking him the same things over and over again. Whenever there's questions that I have that I've never seen anybody ask. Yeah, recovery now. I hope not. I hope not. She also said that he gets upset by too much stimulation, but they did all that stuff that day. That whole weekend was nothing but stimulation. Why? Yeah, Katie kept saying that you're not in trouble. It is. It's exactly what law enforcement did in Summer's case. They waited months and months before they went back out. It's been another theory of yours that they could have fought on the drive home and she snapped, told him to get out of the car, walk home, and he didn't. Right? Maybe. I don't know. There's so many freaking questions. You think if Sebastian would have tried to get to his dad's house, which is 45 minutes away, you think somebody would have seen him walking, right? Yeah, Tennessee is not the state to get lost in, neither is West Virginia. Y'all don't go there. They will not look for you. Well, it's not so much that they will not look for you, they'll look, they just won't find you.
Give you an idea about it. With the social media and the instant churning of the bombshell and the breaking news, and people have sent me outrageous things, just foolish and outrageous things. And then there's the psychics that I've talked about before, people that call themselves psychics or readers or energy or whatever the wording may be. They're deceivers. And you'll notice if you read enough of them, what they do is they work on the element of vagueness, and they look for those without discernment to bring in. That's all fine and well. If you'd like to believe that, you can. I don't, and for reasons I can state pretty plainly. But what it comes down to is listening when someone speaks. I had a case years ago where, and this was in correlation with FBI agents working on it, where 2 young women were murdered in a very rural area, and the case went cold. They found the bodies at the car. The case went cold over a lot of years, and then they found someone online who was writing a lot about the case. And they said, this guy knows things about the case that only we know. And he's writing about it. And we're able to place him in this rural area at the time the 2 young women were murdered. And so they were right. He wrote a great deal of information about it. And I had plenty to analyze. And analyze I did. And there are certain things you look for linguistically that connect someone. And it wasn't there. It wasn't there. Remember, he's going to have, the killer is going to have a very strong opinion, even as he tries to conceal it, which I didn't, about the victims. There's a need to justify or a need to conceal, but self-preservation kicks in. And many of you saw that with the McCann's early interviews. This was all about them, not about a supposed missing child.
You're so right. Peace and happiness. Seth wants us to ask the right questions. Chris wants the hard questions, and Katie don't want any questions. It's crazy. Yeah, all this panel hopping, not one single person has asked him about his poly results, or if TBI told him about Chris's poly. I could really honestly care less about the polygraph results. Just to be honest, they really don't do anything for the case, whether they took a polygraph, passed a polygraph, didn't pass a polygraph, whatever. None of that really, I mean, it doesn't bring us any closer to Sebastian. It really, honest to goodness, doesn't. Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody saw anything. So strange. So I'm gonna read you this post actually that Nick Barris just put up, and it's completely right. Are they saying that he's close to home without saying that he's close to home? See, I don't know, because this was communicated by Gray Hughes. And not with a like Seth said da 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 da. Like it wasn't an exact quote. He just said that, that they're not going to be out searching again until the leaves fall now, because they believe he got stuck or trapped or whatever after he wandered off. And so I don't see how. I'm sorry. I struggle with that. I struggle with that. Yeah, you probably would never pass Paul. You have an anxiety. Yeah, Polly's don't mean anything to me. Ted Bundy passed his. Okay, so let me read you guys this post real quick while we're looking at this. So Joe Clyde Daniels. How many of you guys have ever heard of Joe Clyde Daniels? Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of Joe Clyde Daniels before. 60 seconds behind me because of closed captions, which are available if anybody needs them. Okay, so Joe Clyde Daniels, for those of you guys who may not know who he was a 5-year-old boy who disappeared from his home in Dickinson County, Tennessee, in 2018. And during the investigation of that case, his father actually confessed to murdering him. And he has still never been found, also in Tennessee, okay? Now, let me read you this post from Nick Barris because I think it's kind of interesting if you stop and think about this. And I don't think that, please do not say that I am saying that, Katie or Chris necessarily unalive Sebastian, but it's something to consider, the fact that sometimes there really is no evidence, even whenever a crime occurs, right? And so it says, what we learned from the tragic loss of Joe Clyde Daniels. Now, mind you, his mom and his dad have both been convicted or both put away for being connected to his death and disappearance. But it's because of the confessions that took place. So it says, what we learned from Joe Clyde Daniels case that could apply to the Sebastian Rogers case. So many of you have messaged me making this comparison. There are obviously differences, but also some stark similarities in the 2 missing person cases. So what do we know? 2 months and nothing. A grim milestone. 15-year-old Sebastian disappeared from his Hendersonville home 8 weeks ago. As the search continues, authorities now look back at another high-profile and very similar case. One of you will remember, involving Joe Clyde. They want to know what might be learned from Joe Clyde that could help in the search for Sebastian. 5-year-old Joe Clyde disappeared from his Dickinson County home in 2018. He has never been found. Some of the same people who looked for him are now also looking for Sebastian. There's no denying the similarities. 5-year-old Joe Clyde, autistic, was said to have wandered from his home at night barefoot in his pajamas. That was 6 years ago this month. A massive search and nothing has been found. Now, consider 15-year-old Sebastian, also autistic, is said to have left his home in Hendersonville at night, barefoot, with a flashlight 2 months ago. A massive search and nothing has been found. Now, much like Sebastian's case, there was no physical evidence to explain Joe Clyde's disappearance. You may recall his case quickly turned criminal. The key difference is his father confessed to killing his son. He quickly recanted that confession, but was still found guilty at trial. To date, Joe Clyde's body has still never been found. Legal experts say his father would have never been convicted without the confession. So what does this mean for Sebastian? Investigators have not cleared anyone, but also have no evidence to support foul play. This despite hours of interviews with those close to Sebastian. Still, no confession, no physical evidence, no new leads. If anything is to be learned from Joe Clyde's case, it's this. Someone who knows something must speak out, whether it's a confession or a new lead. If this doesn't happen, it's possible Sebastian's case will never be solved. Authorities have never named any potential suspects. And they say Sebastian's stepfather, mother, and biological father continue to cooperate. Anyone with tips, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Yeah, trials can happen without bodies, but there typically has to be some type of evidence. Something. if CP had followed the poly, everyone would still be saying the same thing using the Ted Bundy examples. These YouTube streets are wild. I just honestly don't think that polygraphs themselves hold any weight just because of how easy they are to manipulate or to not manipulate. It goes based off of, a lot of different factors outside of just the polygraph. Yeah, they got nothing. They got nothing. And so here we are sitting in a spot where we have no concrete evidence about what happened to Sebastian. Whether I want to believe in my fantasy world that he was lured from online, lured from a predator, and is out there somewhere still alive, it makes my theory, my thoughts, no more factual than anybody who is saying that he was unalived by his family. And the reason is we have no evidence either way. There's nothing to point to anything concrete on either side. And I'm hoping that obviously police have more information than us, that they have some type of tip, some type of lead that can tell us where the heck Sebastian is. I don't want it to be 6 years later and they still haven't found him. It's not what you said. Read it again. If CP had failed the poly, would everyone still be saying the same thing using the Ted Bundy example? Oh, I don't know. Listen, people are going to Ringo arguing with the vast majority of YouTube or Facebook or Reddit or wherever. You are arguing with people who will never change their thoughts or opinions. You will never change somebody's mind about what they think. Okay, not never. I shouldn't say that, because there are some people who are looking at this logically and they are waiting for evidence. They are trying to adapt and move as they get evidence in the case and things like that. But I would say the vast majority of people have made up their mind and are not going to change their way of thinking without some type of hardcore evidence. And even then, even with evidence, there will still be people who are so set in their thought process that they will never change their way of thinking. And I said this back in one of the earlier lives that I did, that even if Sebastian were to come home today, there will still be people. There would still be people who believe that it's not the real Sebastian. There would still be people that think that it's a false flag or all made up or whatever, right? You have to keep that in mind. Hi, Miss O, how are you? You really think he got kicked out and then some strangers picked him up, right? Doesn't matter that polys are accurate. Getting so hopped up on pills that I don't know that you passport. I don't know what that is. Hopefully. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I got speculation. It needs facts, right? You think that polygraphs are relevant. See, I think it would depend on who's issuing them and the
And as it
point
turned
behind
out,
it. Like, why are they doing the polygraph? What are they hoping to see? Is it more so to see the reaction of the person, or is it to get the readings off the chart? Because the chart could be, I don't know. Yeah.
but he didn't do it. And so you say, well, how did he know so many things? Is it some kind of psychic or a power beyond the means of understanding that people have? Is he somehow? No, the guy, he was a true crime fan, and he knew, and in my opinion, he accepted human nature for what it is. He knew. He was a good listener and a good writer, intelligent guy, but he didn't do it. And so that ended that way. In interviewing kids with autism, it's difficult. I've interviewed a lot of adults with adult autism, which can be very, very difficult because there's perseveration. There's a repeating of something that happened maybe 20 or 30 years ago, and getting convictions is really difficult. I did the case some of you recognize of Nathan Carman, where he went off on a boat ride with his mom, and the boat sank, and his mom didn't get onto the life raft, and he survived and told the story. And I filmed a news program on that, saying he's lying. Very muted emotionally, but he's lying. He's being deceptive. The answer was found in him. Eventually, I worked with the family, and at the time I was doing the news program, they also had someone on saying, "Oh, you can't analyze the words of someone with that disorder, adult autism or Asperger's." So, yeah, you really can. If they can communicate, you got to listen. And as it turned out, police had known that he had sabotaged the boat, and he was also a suspect in the killing of his grandfather. All this had to do with the inheritance of $10 million. His aunts knew. The family had contacted me, and he was finally arrested, and he committed suicide in jail.
We honestly don't know. We don't know the answer to a lot of these questions. For me, it seems like, just from the outside looking in, that Seth was very much so the fun weekend dad. That his house was the fun house, and he just kind of did what fun dads do, weekend dads, part-time parents. I don't know how involved he was with absolutely anything, whether it was the education, the therapy sessions. Like, we don't know the answer to any of that. And honestly, I wouldn't trust any of them with whatever answers they gave. And I hate to say that, but even if Seth came out and was like, "No, I was X amount involved," or if Katie and Chris came out and said, like, "No, he was this amount involved," would we believe literally anybody who's talking? I mean, seriously, you can't. Who was not working on the weekend? Chris did not work that weekend. Seth was currently working when he was called. Yeah, Katie kept him out of involvement as much as possible. That's our perception. We don't know. Yeah, Disneyland dads. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of Disneyland dads out there that are completely, like, the funnest guys in the world, because you don't have to be super, super dad. You don't have to be like, you know, involved in everything to be the fun dad. I don't know. We don't know the answer to that. What's important though is that he's involved now. Seth is out there involved now and pushing the search for his son now. I mean, how many of us would have never heard of this case or got involved or cared if these parents didn't come to social media the way that they have? Both sets. And Chris and Katie included. They may have gotten involved and we instantly disliked them and the things that they were saying. Um, but it doesn't change the fact that they brought his name to social media in a way that it wasn't. Have they checked all of the bodies of water within a 5-mile radius of the home? Reason you're asking is because of David Puckett's case. He was only 7 still. So I know that I know that that Dave Rader and EquiSearch was out there checking bodies of water. I can't remember how many he said that they checked, but he did do an interview with Duty Ron and discuss the checking of the water.
So it didn't end well. When Sebastian went missing, the key to finding him, the key to everything, lies with the mother. In order to find him, you have to know under what circumstances he went out that door. You have to know that. She withheld that information, and it was very carefully guarded over by stepfather. So if stepfather wasn't there, then why would he have the same guilt? And this is my theory on it, and then I'll let Seth comment on any of those things. The key to locating either Sebastian's remains, or at least the trail of where it goes, that if someone grabbed him and he's still alive, the key to locating him lies with that mother. You have to tell what happened. We have to understand his mindset. We have to understand what he was like at that moment. So here are 2 factors within that I think are not understood and really important.
Here's another thought that I had, because Seth does say at some point during this interview, and I'm going to actually bump it up to 1.75 while Peter's talking. He does so at some point during this panel thing say about how he's been watching Peter since the beginning. Is part of their separation because he is putting all of his stakes into what Peter is saying, and he honest to goodness believes his analysis of the statements based off of what he knows about Katie that we don't know, right? We only know what Katie and Chris have presented to us. Seth knows her deeper than that. And so based off of that Is that why he believes what Peter is saying so much? Is that why he believes? Is that what's causing their separation? The fact that he truly believes what Peter is saying. We'll see what 1.75 sounds like.
She holds the key. That account is the only evidence that can be presented to investigators to understand Sebastian's mindset and how bad whatever happened. And here's another one: when it happened. I'm convinced it didn't suddenly become a surprise at 6 a.m. Not by their language. That interview that was done recently, absolutely perfect, which is a good sign that tells you, nope, it was scripted, it was put together. The key to finding, or at least the proper trail, is understanding what happened that night. And there were two linguistics that were so powerful. Is number one, and I hope this gets through because I'm having trouble, people still write to me about it, is the I love you. Okay. She said, she allegedly quoting him, I love you, mama, and the puppies. And he may have well said that. It may have been okay at that point. It is to present her to the public while her son is missing as a good mother. The presentation, the linguistic presentation of a good mother tells you something went wrong. Something went wrong. And even I in subsequent interviews, I heard them repeat that again. And it was too precise. I said, oh, that's coordinated. So it's alarming. We all say, I love you to our children, and hopefully our children say it to us. It is the need to present that while Sebastian was missing that says, from the subject's point of view, I need to be seen as a good mother. The need to be seen or perceived as a good mother tells you there was a deficit, there was something wrong. There was something wrong. So,
I'm just going to say this. So if something would ever happen to my children, and I'm just going to put this out there as a hypothetical situation, because God forbid anything ever does happen to my children and I would ever be in this situation. But if part of the conversation that I had with my kid, and this is something that I disagree with Peter about, if part of the conversation that I had with my kid was telling them I love you and then putting them to bed, why wouldn't you put that in there? And he says it's because of our innate need to make it look as if we're good parents and things like that. Doesn't everybody struggle with that? I mean, maybe it's just me, but I question myself as a parent all the time. I need constant reassurance that the decisions that I make and the things that I am doing are the right things. And I think that in any situation where your child is missing or something horrible happens to your child, wouldn't you need to reassure yourself that much more and reassure the public like that much more? Like, hey, I am a good mom. I did tell him that I loved him. Like, I don't know. And so I kind of I have a disagreement with him on this because he focuses on this a lot. The fact that she told him that she loved him. Well, if that's what happened, then isn't that important to put that information out there? Does it really mean that it's shady? The fact that she told him that she loved him, I don't know. He's like, oh, because it's such an important detail. Do we struggle with what? Do we struggle with do other people struggle with the thought of needing to be perceived as a good parent? I guess I should say, not just a mother. Do you want the perception out there to be that you're a good parent? Honestly, just say goodnight to your 18-year-old. Hardly say I love you. I love you, mama is an ego-driven statement. We all have ego, good or bad. It just adds nothing to the urgency of this particular situation. Yeah, right. It's a part of their routine, I would assume. I don't see it as shady at all. I guess I don't. Like I said, so if I were to talk about, okay, say God forbid, let me just put this out there. God forbid, let's say something would happen and tomorrow morning I would wake up and Junior would not be in her bed for some reason. And I was on a live trying to explain the night before. So if I just had to explain what happened last night before bed. She came in, she got dressed for bed, we read her a book. I told her I loved her. We said your prayers. She went to bed. You know what I mean? Like I like that's part of what happened. So is telling her that I loved her, like I don't it's part of what happened. I don't know. To me, it's just not that big of a deal. You wouldn't need any reassurances because be living in a 24/7 state of terror and panic. Who has time to be in their fields during a time of crisis like this? I'm just saying that in our in our own body, like with whether we're doing it consciously or not, whenever we're telling stories, we I don't know. Yeah, you would always just say I love you, and would feel natural repeating the statement. Yeah, I say I love you like 10 times. I can't I don't know. All the time, constantly. It's a constant thing. And so it would just seem like it was part of what happened, right? Part of the description of the events of that night. Not necessarily some nefarious thing that like, oh, she had to mention that he said that he loved her. I don't find it that nefarious because if it happened, then it happened. Right. I know. Who picks this apart? Saying I love you when you say goodnight to their child. I agree. Like, why is this such a big part of his story? And so I've disagreed with him about this part since the beginning, because to me it's just why is that what you're focused on? To me, if you told me that your kid just went to bed and there was a good night or whatever, and you didn't say you loved them, and then you're telling me in the next sentence that they weren't even in trouble, then I would be like, okay, so were they in trouble? Like you didn't even tell your kid that you loved them? Like, come on. I don't know.
If I came on here and I said, hey, I just want to tell everybody there's no excuse for elder abuse. And I go on and on about it. After a while, you're going to say, did you hurt your grandfather? Why the unnecessary moralizing? It's the same theme. It's a type of presentation that is meant for you to consider, oh, that's really nice. He loved her. Therefore, she couldn't have done anything. It's no different than someone calls up on the emergency call and says, I was sleeping and I just woke up and the door is open and my child is missing. So you count off what the priority is. I was sleeping. I just woke up. The door was open before we can get to the child. In other words, I'm going to present myself as innocent, which brings our attention to it. So the I love you under this context is alarming. It's telling you that something went wrong. Then, when someone mentions a phone call in a statement,
Maybe is this what the issue is? When you tell your friends about conversations you had with your kids, do you mention to your friends that you said, I love you? No, you tell them the important part of the story. No, I guess I'm trying to think of a natural conversation that I had, because I feel like my response at this point would be swayed, right? I feel like if the words I love you were part of the story, I would include them. Maybe it's just because I overtell things. Maybe it's because I include too many details 90% of the time, but that's just the way I story tell. I mean, God, there's probably like 2 bajillion things that I've told you people on this platform that should have never come to the internet or been shared. You know what I mean? And so I overshare stuff. That's just who I am as a person. I'm the type of person that starts telling a story and you're like, "Oh my God, can you hit the 2 times speed? Fast forward." Because I do. I just overshare and overtell every single detail. We start at birth, every story. In the beginning, when God. That's where I start every single story. And then we end, you know, at the end. So no, if it was what happened, then I probably would have said those words. I probably would have included the entire conversation, you know?
in this context, that phone call is part of the story. Very big part of the story. Now, stepfather wasn't there, so he could not have caused whatever happened. Then she connected stepfather with a phone call. The other day I was driving, and I just want everyone to know that using a hands-free operation, I spoke to my daughter on the phone for a half an hour. I just love talking to her, and I probably keep her on too long. And this is true. I really do. I like to talk to her, and she's very busy with baby and that sort of thing. You would ask, rightfully, Peter, why are you telling us that? Your child is missing. Why you? I'm the one connecting it in a really weird way, and you'd be right to ask that question. This is how we learn. We ask questions. So why, in a controlled environment with stepfather bearing down, why the need to tell us you had a 3-hour phone call while Sebastian is missing? I believe her. And I believe it's critical. So he wasn't connected to whatever happens to Sebastian until she connected him with his blessing. His, there was no refutation. There was no angry response to that. As if you stay on the phone for 3 hours at night when a child goes missing. What that told me was, and this is statement analysis 101. This is not anything of shocking discovery, is that phone call is part of Sebastian's missing. And that's why he's brought into this. She did it. She brought him in. Then stepfather went on and gave more and more interviews. The more interviews he gave, the worse it got. Because you saw what his bellicose language sounded like, what the language of physicality. I mean, he was at the point where, is he starting to threaten people that are asking questions? The key to finding Sebastian, or at least the trail of Sebastian, lies with the mother. And whatever happened to him, I am firm in my belief he was part of it via the phone call.
Seth does not talk about this until the end. Why does he feel the need to keep repeating and picking apart the same statement? Maybe because it's all he has, Jess. I don't know. There are different things, though, that happen that he points out that it is holes in the story. I don't think that I love you, though, is the big hole. I don't think that that's the big, like, dun, dun, dun. Obviously, she murdered her child because she said she loves him. Like, come on. Come on. He talks too fast for your liking. Chase, he's on 1.5. It's at 1.5 right now. You love when Peter talks fast like this. It helps tremendously. You love watching him, but fast forward to Seth talking, we would be at the very end. Actually, I think he says something here in a minute. Maybe. So Peter explains, though, that Seth came on, that Seth just wanted to be present while Peter was doing his thing. And again, why wouldn't Seth just sit in the chat? My whole point of watching this even is he has said that he's watched Peter before and been watching him since the beginning. And so why say you're a united front, and then as you're taking this stance as a united front, the very next day you decide to go on panel with some guy that you know is about to pick Katie apart. He's been picking Katie and Chris apart since the beginning. To me, it's just like shady. Like, it's not really, you're not very united if you're wanting to match up with the person who has been going at them since the beginning, a professional.
And why, after being married as many times as he has and being such a man of anger, and his disposition towards Sebastian was frightening. It was frightening to me. I've interviewed him 100 times in that sense, where I've heard the stepfathers and boyfriends run them down and very sometimes subtly blame the victim, that sort of thing. And they did. That's self-defense. That is preservation. If Katie wants him found, whether he is deceased or alive, she has to give up the same key from the very beginning that remains all this time, 2 months later. Just tell the truth of what happened. But self-preservation is blocking that. And this is why my belief on stepfather's involvement is so important. They discussed it. That was the conversation that she had a need, and he did too, to say took place. Now, of course, he's obviously clever. He knows that they're going to be able to look at their phones and say, oh, there was a 3-hour conversation the night that 15-year-old with special needs went missing. But I also have the gap of missing information of that evening. Somewhere after dinner and between 6 a.m., there's missing information means deliberately withheld information. And so that key has always been, from the moment it happened, you know what? Put aside everything. And I think it's too late at this point, but put aside everything. Your child is missing. Tell police everything. Okay? There was probably a blow up of some form, or you foolishly locked him out. Face consequences with that, but tell the truth. Because even if he is deceased, he deserves a proper and respectful burial. And even if it was unintended and just foolish anger, because you've seen the anger of the stepfather. I can imagine what he said on the phone to them in 3 hours, to her in 3 hours. Sebastian deserves better. So, Seth, thank you for joining.
So that was the whole point, right? Put it out there. Say exactly what you're saying. If they're lying, you're not being fully cooperative. Law enforcement has said they've been fully cooperative since day one. But if it's something that she is withholding that law enforcement does not know about, then they're not going to know that she's being deceptive, right? They can question if she's being deceptive or not. They could tell us that they're being fully cooperative, and it doesn't mean jack squat. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that Katie killed him. I don't think that she killed him. But I do think that Peter is onto something whenever he is saying that there's something missing. There's something about this story, and I've said it since the beginning. They wanted to put themselves out there as if they were some happy, healthy, Leave It to Beaver style family, and they're not. They're just not that family. And that has come out now. Gosh, we know all their faults, all their flaws, all the different horrible things that have happened to this child over the years. Yeah. Good morning, Marianne. They didn't say at day one, they said at the beginning. Yeah. You wonder if 3-hour combos were a regular thing that they did. Possibly. I mean, honestly, I know people who have worked out on the road, and long-term conversations were always a thing, or FaceTiming for hours and hours and hours. And so it's possible. It's possible it could have been a regular thing. Being married 5 times doesn't mean you're a killer. I don't think Chris had anything to do with it. I think if Chris had something to do with it, it was about the abuse or the fight or something along those lines that I think was occurring on a regular basis inside of that house. But as of that weekend, I think it's just as likely that he was out skating around on Katie instead of working than it is. I think it's just as likely that that is a situation. And that's why he doesn't travel home on weekends, because he's out there looking for wife number 17. I think that could be, a whole thing. I don't think you don't either. You think she let him outside and told him to be gone by midnight, and he didn't come back. And in the dispatch call, he was to be home by midnight. The dispatcher got that info somewhere. Yeah, maybe. You like Peter Hyatt? Yeah, he is right in a lot of the cases, just Linda. Right. You think there was a lot of conflict between Chris and Sebastian. I agree. Again, I put no weight into polygraph test. She could have been completely truthful in her statements saying that she did not murder him because she didn't murder him. But could she have caused his disappearance? Was there a fight? Was there a blow up? Was there something that occurred that night that led to Sebastian leaving the home? Marianne, yeah, I've considered that. It's gonna take a lot of time, though, because there's been so many words. And then Chris has gone through and deleted a ton of his posts that he did on Facebook, which I have a lot of it screenshot, but I don't think I have all of it. You talked to your husband for 3+ hours when your husband was deployed or away for work, right? I hope she chooses Sebastian over me. Chris Proudfoot to Seth Rogers, just something to marinate on, folks. Wait, what? You hope she chooses? When did he say that? I think when Sebastian was younger, the relationship with Chris was probably decent. But as Sebastian aged, it got worse. I agree. And I think that happens in a lot of families that have mixed households. The tendency for people to argue with step parents, it's pretty high. Not every family blends together well. He talks to Seth here in a second. Seth talks for a second.
That is, I believe, the key, at least to
Maria's
somewhere
good.
that investigators need to go back with.
After that, we're
information.
gonna skip a lot of the questions and we'll go to the end. Because after this, it's just questions, really.
Common interviews that are done. Even as stepfather's ex-wife spoke in a child protective interview, everything is on the table. Seth, your life is put under a microscope. Everyone's life, where can he be safe? You know, if he's found alive, where can he be safe? So all is fair. All is out there. I don't believe it's anything to do with slinging mud, but to give a portrait of what Sebastian was living under. I mean, is there anyone present that would like to live under stepfather's rule from what we've heard?
No.
From what we've heard out of his own mouth? Is there anyone that would say, hey, sounds like a good parent to me? Would anyone let him babysit your cat? Some comments from you, Seth.
I was pretty much here just to listen to you.
Okay.
You have a lot more experience and stuff, and I appreciate you having me on the panel, and I appreciate your insight. And
Does any of it sound crazy to you?
No, I was married to her for a long time, and you're right on a lot of key factors. You're right on. You know, I believe that she did not open up at the beginning. Reading her body language while I was there, she's not telling everything. I just don't know how long she's going to continue before she decides that she's going to unburden herself.
I hope that.
He just does not know how long she's going to continue before she's going to unburden herself. The fact that Seth believes that he knows Katie, allegedly, since she was 14 years old. Is that rumor or not? I don't know. They got married when she was 18, 19, and allegedly knew each other since she was 14. He knows her. We don't. Yeah, let's be a united front. And then the next morning. That to me speaks volumes. They're just gonna.
You have a lot more experience and stuff, and I appreciate you having me on the panel, and I appreciate your insight. And
Does any of it sound crazy to you?
No, I was married to her for a long time, and you're right on a lot of key factors. You're right on. You know, I believe that she did not open up at the beginning. Reading her body language while I was there, she's not telling everything. I just don't know how long she's going to continue before she decides that she's going to unburden herself.
I hope she breaks. I hope she breaks, because maybe it will give investigators insight into changing course in terms of what they were looking for. Because there are certain things that aren't making sense. But I heard from you about his experience with bare feet. And obviously the sneakers or shoes has played quite a role in all this. And then I heard stepfather talk a lot. And that's the language of an abuser. And that's when I thought they maybe been trying to teach him some lesson.
Yeah, even right now, the video is sped up to 1.25, guys. This is still 1.25. I had it on 1.5 originally. And so please don't read anything into how they're speaking or their pace that they're speaking at, because it is very slow throughout the entire video. You know what? Come to think of it, maybe Seth is doing this thinking he'll get Katie to crack. Maybe Peter or someone talked him into doing this. Just a thought. Maybe. It could have been even the private investigators. We have no idea. We have no clue. Yeah, keep your enemies close. We have no clue the motivations of any of these people. No, it's not. He did not fail. We don't even know if this is truthful or not. We have not heard anybody come out and say the results, but inconclusive. It does not equal fail. Right. Yeah, they spoke slowly while you were watching this live stream is driving me nuts. I can't watch anything in real time, period. You will never see me play a video in real time if I have a choice. You know, you're not the same person you was at 14. He may think he knows her. Yeah, maybe, but it's also been a lot of years since they met. Like, I mean, they were together for a lot of years too.
How to be a man and go out there with his bare feet, or something happened that night, an altercation of some form, of which they have coordinated their accounts together since then. And so my hope is that maybe if there is a break in the relationship, maybe the maternal instincts will take over, and she'll say, here's what happened. I don't want to hold this burden any longer, and I didn't intend for it to end as it did, but here's what happened. That's what I'm hoping for.
I can only hope. I still pray that my son's alive.
Yeah.
And the sooner she unburdens herself, the sooner we can either find him, triangulate on a course of action.
I understand that you're trying to work together.
I'm hoping that she'll work together. I'm hoping that both her and Chris will actually start working with me so that I can work with them. I mean, that was pretty much the whole discussion last night before the vigil. And I do hope that they actually work with me.
This right here, right? She may have completely changed from being with Chris. She may have turned into a completely different person, sure. But he still co-parents with her. They still speak. He still knows a semblance of what was going on. Right? He still knows her a heck of a lot better than what we know her. We don't know nobody. Yeah, Hyatt's Live wasn't planned that morning. Seth would have already committed to this way in advance of the union. Committed to what? Yeah, every relationship's different. I know. He's like, "I hope they still work with me." Hey, I know I'm sitting here on this panel, while this guy sits here and says that you have direct knowledge as to what happened to our son or why it happened, and that you need to unburden yourself, and then I also repeated that I hope that you tell the truth and stuff like that, and unburden yourself and air out everything that's out there. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You don't have to carry the weight of the world, Katie. But hey, you still want to partner up with me? Still want to partner up with me to find our kid? According to him, they didn't speak. He spoke with Chris, right? So I mean, maybe it's just him and Chris that are a united front. Maybe he's not a united front with Katie. Would Chris get to the point where he's so worried about protecting his social appearance and the appearances that he has? Would he get to the point where he would turn his back on Katie, work just with Seth to try to figure it out, to try to figure out what Katie, quote unquote, is hiding? Would Chris team up with just Seth and leave Katie on the outs? Is it Chris and Seth are united, or is it the three parents together are united? That's a thought. That's a thought. I think Chris definitely would go into self-preservation mode and try to team up with Seth to make sure that Chris no longer gets dragged through the mud. Would he push Katie into it to get himself out? 1000% Chris is the type of person that I think would step all over Katie's back to walk across that mud puddle. Not get dirty. 1000% I think he would. Based off of his personality type. It's something to think about. It's possible if KP does know something more that Chris may not, and he's slowly starting to see it. Look at Al Stout, right? Granted, Al caught on quicker, but still. Gosh, look at all the recorded calls that Al did with Letitia. Right. Law enforcement has obviously made it clear to Seth that Chris is not a suspect, or in the very least has an alibi. Right. Like I said, we know that he wasn't working because he did not work that weekend. Could he have been at his place of employment and staying in his trailer? Absolutely. Absolutely. You think that Chris did that just to stop Seth from getting the FBI involved? Maybe. I think they're still going to try. Bye, Chase. All three of them failed Sebastian horribly. Sorry to say, but you feel bad for Sebastian, only Sebastian. Yeah. I'm not saying I feel bad for any of them. I don't feel bad for any of the parents, except for the fact that they're missing the kid, right? Except for the fact that Sebastian is missing. I could care less what any of the parents are really truly going through. We just need Sebastian found. Period. I hope to God none of them are involved directly. Chris doesn't care about public opinion. Boy, you are so wrong about that though, Ringo. Yeah, that's all he's done is try to play defense on public opinion. Motivation. Chris's motivation right now is to get custody of Faith. His actions are a product of that goal. People aren't that hard to figure out. Yeah. Ugh. All right, I'm going to skip to the end because Seth doesn't talk now again for a while. But at the end, like they go through some questions and stuff like that, and then he does talk again.
And that's some of the basic questions is, why do you need to tell me you're a good mom if nothing bad happened?
I know you're not a behavioral analysis, but do you think she'll die on that pedestal?
I don't know her enough, Seth, to give an answer.
I'm actually going to go back to the question or the statement beforehand so that you can understand Seth's question.
It really is for life itself, and I can't recommend it more highly. It's impacted me greatly. He had invited me to the FBI National Academy a number of years ago, where I was able to bring my daughter. My wife had my daughter, Christina, and especially during lunch when she had a full chance to talk with him, she was so impressed. It was life-changing how powerful questions are. And that's what we want to ask. Yeah, thanks, Lana. He's a brilliant mind, and it is the most powerful element within analysis, criminal analysis, statement. Everything is to ask questions, and that's some of the basic questions. Is why do you need to tell me you're a good mom if nothing bad happened?
I know you're not a behavioral analysis, but do you think she'll die on that pedestal?
I don't know her enough, Seth, to give an answer. I agree with some of the people commenting that I do think that relationship is going to break. That's his pattern anyway. You might have a better insight into that if he's not around. That would be my hope. You know, if any parent can lose their temper, any parent can. I've been shaken baby cases where they've been prosecuted. And generally speaking, no one that I ever interviewed woke up and say, oh, today I'm going to shake my baby. They lose it in a moment, and the life is forever altered, and the child is damaged or deceased. And it's a horrible, horrible thing. I'm hoping that they will split and that she will want to clear her conscience. And even if it's that foolish, well, we decided to, not let this behavior go on any longer, so I put him outside, and he has to get over. I wanted him to get over his fear without the shoes on, or something like that. Something went wrong, and someone just commented, something snapped. Something snapped. And when you hear this guy's anger and the language of abuse and the language of domestic violence, like what did your son live under? It's hard enough being a 15-year-old without any issues like autism. What did he live under? Here's something of interest, probably down the road, but yeah, civil litigations bring depositions and questions are asked. Questions are asked. And even when someone ducks a question, that gives us information. So a good comment, that girl. Are you being bothered at all by people claiming to have all sorts of psychic powers and magical insight? And
I don't. I mean, people try that stuff. I got so tired of people stating that my son was dead. I mean, that just they don't have any clue what that stuff does to a person's faith and hope that their child is alive. I refuse to listen to that stuff anymore. As soon as somebody says, "Hey, there's this psychic," I don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear it. I have to have faith that my son is alive, and I have to have faith that she'll tell me.
I do.
I have to have faith that she'll tell me. Yeah. I think Seth's gut is telling him that Katie did something to Sebastian. Is it his gut, or is it the court of public opinion that he's been feeding himself? He admittedly has only been watching YouTube. Doesn't look at social media, Facebook, stuff like that, but he does watch the YouTube videos. Let's think about the chats that we have seen him commenting in. He has commented in Terry Lynn. She's a local helping search and things like that. She's very against Chris and Katie. He has commented in Pascal, who also is very against Chris and Katie. He has commented in Trev Time. Not Trev Time. Yes, Trev Time. He's commented in the lab. He's commented in T-Rev. Like, there's so many different people that he has commented in, and he is engaging in their live streams, and I have no clue, honestly, if Seth has ever watched any of my lives. I have no clue. But he's feeding himself. Yeah, he's commented in allegedly with Brittany J. He's feeding himself this high dose of everybody pointing out every flaw that Chris and Katie have. Peter Hyatt, Dolly. Is it swaying his thought process? Is he seeing everything and he's hearing everybody's opinions and he's feeding on that, and then it's swaying their relationship and swaying how things are perceived in his own mind? 90% of anyone who's following thinks it's Chris and Katie. All highly speculative channels. I don't know so much if it's that they've anointed him Father of the Year. I think that it's more so that they are anti Chris and Katie. You think it's just because wrong he knows his ex-wife. Maybe. Yeah, Robin's also in the Facebook groups, true. She might be showing him things too. I think Duchess handles them very fairly, more than any other creators. I think that I disagree with that. And only because I have seen her be very anti-Seth in some of the comments. I feel like we're in a situation where you have two different camps. You have the people who are anti-Chris and Katie, and then you have the people who are anti-Seth. And I think that the people who are pro Chris and Katie are just naturally going to be attacking Seth. And that's what we're seeing happen. All in the name of, it's about Sebastian. We're Team Sebastian. Why isn't Seth donating his reward fund? Why isn't Seth this? Why isn't Seth that? Don't you dare raise a question about Chris and Katie because Seth. Right? And so I think it's just the way that the poll is split. You have some channels that are very, very anti Chris and Katie, and some that are very, very anti Seth. Or anti all, right? Right. I don't think it's any more so that, like, they are handling them more fairly. It's just the perception that they're more fair because they attack people who have difference of opinions on the other side. Why is Katie out of town with Chris? Well, I mean, she is married to him. We're pro Sebastian. You're not anti anyone. I just want the boy home. Right, or to be recovered. It's awful not knowing where a loved one is. Yeah, I swear, guys, the not knowing, it's the worst. It's the absolute worst. Out of all the families that I've talked to on these missing person cases, even the ones that end up being found deceased, there's like a sense of relief whenever they finally find out. The not knowing, it'll drive you insane. There's a case local to me. Every year, her mom makes a video pleading for anyone to come forward, pleading for anyone with information about her daughter to come forward every year, year after year after year. And she just explains that you can't grieve, you can't move on, you can't celebrate anything because you don't know, should you include that loved one in the celebration or not? Does it make people feel awkward, talking about your missing loved one because you want to celebrate things like your other children's prom or their graduation or their weddings or whatever's going on. But at the same time, you still have this gaping hole in your life of this child that's missing. And so you can't be happy, you can't sleep, you can't rest, you can't grieve, there's no moving forward. You're just stuck. You're just stuck with nowhere to go. And it's the worst feeling in the entire world. And I don't wish that on any parent. If something nefarious happened to Sebastian, it needs to be found out. If Sebastian wandered out of his house that night and got stuck in the woods and succumbed to nature, they need to find him. And if Sebastian is alive out there and was lured out of his home and can be found somewhere alive and safe, he needs to come home. I don't wish this hell on any parent of any family. I really don't. You think that Katie hasn't showed up to any of the gatherings, especially those that are titled vigils? Just the wording assumes no longer here. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. Because a vigil, if you think about it, a prayer vigil, you're just praying for the safety of that child. Yeah. An arrest was made, no trial yet. Wow. Missing since 2016. That's so hard. So hard. This is the local girl I was talking about. Jasmine Michelle Smith. She's been missing since 2015. Every year, her mom makes a video. Every year. And it's freaking heartbreaking every single time. She went missing just a few hours after her sister's graduation party. And she was last known to be with this guy who has since been convicted for the murder of another girl that they eventually found the other girl's remains. And her family thinks that people surrounding this guy or this guy knows exactly what happened to her and where she is, but that nobody's talking. And so they just every year beg and beg and beg and beg for somebody to please speak up and say what happened. Just freaking devastating. I don't wish that on anyone. Never found her remains. Wow. In your opinion, Katie has publicly made her choice and it wasn't Sebastian. Yeah. Katie is either sick with worry or guilt. She's lost a lot of weight. She does. She looks tired. She looks very tired. Guaranteed someone can look through your life and pick out parts of your oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Listen, any single one of us put onto this platform to be analyzed with our families. Oh Lord, it's a mess. I don't wish that on anybody either, right? But it's a double-edged sword. The cases that the families don't come out, that the families don't speak up, that they don't open themselves to this public criticism or whatever, they're just another flyer. It's just a case that you move right past and nobody cares about, right? And so you almost have to put yourself out there for this mess that occurs in order for people to care that your child is missing. And that's sick, right? But there's just so many flyers. There's just so many missing people, which actually there's an Amber Alert I need to pull up. And I meant to do this at the beginning and I completely forgot. Oh, I know. If y'all do that to me and my family, y'all are going to be in therapy, right, Bushes? Goodness. Let me get the Amber Alert real quick. Amber Alert. Amber Alert. Right here. Roman is missing since April 21st in West Richland, Washington, in a 2009 Toyota Corolla Silver. It says Amber Alert has been activated by the Washington State Patrol on behalf of the West Richland Police Department. Said this guy is suspected of murdering his ex-wife and girlfriend, and the 1-year-old child is missing, possibly heading to Mexico. Dude's already murdered 2 people. Or, sorry, 1 person. Is it 1 person or 2 people? Is it an ex-wife and a girlfriend? There's actually 2 of them. Possibly heading to Mexico. Here's the guy. Elias. Already murdered somebody. Has this baby, possibly heading to Mexico. And then this one. Carlos Hernandez is missing in Albuquerque, New Mexico, age 10, since yesterday. Believed to be in a Hyundai Sonata white, license plate BDJ-Z56, license plate from New Mexico. Says the New Mexican State Police are asking for public assistance in locating Carlos Hernandez, a 10-year-old male who was last seen around 1 p.m. on April 22 at 1041 Lamberton Place in Northeast Albuquerque. He was abducted by his non-custodial mother, Angelique Sanchez, age 39. They are traveling in a white Hyundai Sonata with New Mexico license plate. He was previously reported to APD on April 12th. He was spotted with Angelique in April of 2022 at New Mexico Human Services. As officers attempted to contact her, she fled the area with the Sonata and had Carlos inside of the vehicle. Angelique rammed into the state police patrol vehicle while fleeing the scene and was last seen driving the wrong way. They did not initiate the pursuit because Carlos was in the car. So both situations, very scary. Very not cool. Both are Amber Alerts. Sorry. Wanted to bring those up. Yeah, the world's gone crazy. You would never bring her case to YouTube after what you've seen of some of these cases, right? Yeah, 600,000 people go missing every year. Every year. But how do you differentiate your loved one from just another flyer? Because out of those 600,000, how many names do we know? That's what I mean. It's a double-edged sword because if you want your kid found, I hate to say this, but the internet needs somebody to hate. There needs to be a guilty party for the public to hate in general for people to care about the cases. If you had a missing child, you would need a trusted family spokesperson. I don't think you would be able to function at all, right? Could you imagine a prosecutor saying, Your Honor, Exhibit A. I have proof they went to a Harley shop. Exhibit B. She said Sebastian loves her. Guilty. This is one time here and see all of the red flags. You want to say you did it. I have to say it's tough not to point fingers. Oh, I agree. Listen, I'm not saying that I don't see red flags. That's my issue. I can't point to a theory and say, guys, you guys are ridiculous for thinking that anybody could have possibly been involved. Right? That's the problem. That's the problem. There is not one theory, not one piece of evidence that has been presented to us by law enforcement to curb the court of public opinion. There is no such thing as innocent until proven guilty in the court of public opinion. In the law, yeah, absolutely. But not public perception. Does not exist. Yeah, this case has a maze with smoke and mirrors, right? I definitely would not. I don't agree with any of the private information. The fact that they put that stuff out there, it bothered me. And the SA stuff on both sides. His friends, his family, the people who are missing him, if he is out there alive and watching these interviews, would you ever want to come home knowing that the entire world now knows that you wear pull-ups? No way. Why would you do that? Would you want the whole world to know your SA story if you yourself weren't the one telling it? I'd be mortified. I'd be mortified. There's no way. It's one thing whenever you're a victim of SA to have the courage to finally tell your truth on a platform or to anyone, whether it's your family, your friends, a close trusted person, whatever, to actually say it out loud it gives you power, right? You get a piece of yourself back the more that you be able to talk about this horrible thing that happened to you. But to have somebody else say it for you and put it out to thousands of people? Oh no. It's not okay. It's not okay. All those details. It's just heartbreaking. Law enforcement said the family has been fully cooperative since the beginning. There's no evidence that they're involved. That's all I need to hear. If law enforcement changes that, then I'll change my mind. But they said, see, this is where you get stuck though, because they said there's no evidence of foul play, but there is no evidence that there's not foul play. Everyone has been fully cooperative, and there's no evidence that indicates that they're involved. But there's also no evidence that indicates that they're not involved. It's both things. It's both things. There's no evidence of anything. Just gone. He's just gone. To where? Where the heck did Sebastian go? Where is he? I don't know. Green hearts, I think that's the best way to end it. Green hearts and prayers for Sebastian. Like, let's just fill the stream with green, guys. That's it. That's all we can do is pray and hope for some type of answers. Oh, that's been an interesting thought. What happens if Katie takes her own life due to not being able to find her child and being bullied online and accused of things that she's innocent of if she's innocent? I think that people will have to live with that, right? If they were involved in the harassment and things like that. I honestly have been suicide is one of those things that has been on my mind a lot lately. Just watching some of the different hate that happens between channels even on this platform. Just the constant, perception that people are spreading love and not hate, but then they're just their opinion is right and everybody else's is wrong. And so they hate and do live after live after live about it, right? Yep. It's so much. It's a lot of hate in this world. Whether it's, I don't know, on this platform or whether it's everywhere. But the problem is we can't control what people do, right? All you can control is what you look at personally. I hope that she's not looking at YouTube. I hope that she's not watching the Facebook post and stuff like that. I would not recommend that for anybody to sit there and read all the filth day after day after day after day after day after day after day. Don't do it. Fill your mind with hope and love and things like that. Just walk away. Yeah, even adults are embarrassed that they have to wear adult diapers. Adults know how to handle life things. Yeah, you have to follow the crowd or get bashed. Right? Unite to find the boy. Yeah. Yeah, law enforcement needs to update the public soon and give us hope that they are still getting tips, actively working his case. I agree. There needs to be some type of communication about things, but I doubt we'll get it because it's TBI. It's Tennessee. They don't communicate. That's just something they don't do. As far as, if you're having suicidal thoughts or ideations or anything like that, please contact a therapist, dial 988, do all the things. Sadly, that's all I got for you. That's it. People need to help themselves, right? You can't help somebody, they have to help themselves. Even if it's on this platform, the bullying, the stuff like that, Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, wherever it is, you have to help yourself. You have to take yourself out of the situation. You also dropped out of all the Facebook groups. Yeah. Yep. So, anyways, guys, all right, I am going to get off here. I do have to start work in just a few minutes. I appreciate everybody coming in, kind of looking. But if there is any truth to this, that the statement analysis that Peter's reading, the thoughts that Seth clearly is kind of having, You don't have to carry the weight of the world. If you know something about this case, even if it's the smallest detail, you don't have to hold that. Contact TBI. Let them know what you know. If you know where Sebastian is. If you know where Sebastian is, please tell someone. That's it. That's all. Thank you so much, CO, for the super chat. Thank you for being so fair. Here's the thing. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know if it was Chris and Katie. We don't know if Sebastian was lured out. We don't know if we don't know. The Easter Bunny could have came and taken Sebastian for all I know. We have no evidence of absolutely anything. Just got to kind of look at all sides. Look at it all. So, all right. I love you guys. I'm going to get off here. I will talk to you all later. Bye.